So I'm going to read out something that you said in a recent interview. You said, "I kid you not, I've been on an email chain that was meant to be an introduction, but the men were going back and forth discussing the need to catch up over a round of golf." My first thought there was, first of all, love that. Second of all, like RIP those guys seeing that interview and thinking, oh shit, she's talking about me. So what was the whole kind of premise around that?
Yeah, to be honest, that one was an investor wanting to introduce me to someone, introducing me via email, and then like 3 or 4 emails went back between them just discussing, oh, see you on the golf course, when are you next in, you know, that type of thing. And I just laughed because I think that as a female founder, when you're talking about raising capital, the golf club is such a common, you know, joke. I've met so many male investors where I said, oh, how do you know this person? Golf. How do you know this person? Members club. How do you know this one? Golf. So it was one of those things I just couldn't believe my eyes. I couldn't believe that I was actually in a situation watching the golf discussion. Right. It was funny. I like to joke about it now because I was there. I saw it happen. You know, it's real. It's not a joke.
And you said, you know, you're lucky enough to not find these situations intimidating.
Yeah.
And the wider situations of kind of, you know, being a female founder in a world dominated by men and male investors. So help me understand a bit more about that.
Yeah, I think I've always been a very confident person. And I think that has massively helped. I can understand how situations can be super intimidating, but I think that I like to challenge people. You know, I was once at an event and it was a pitch event and there were 4 companies pitching and every single one of them was a male or 2 male founders. So I went up to the fund manager at the end and I said, great diversity tonight, as a joke. But, well, it wasn't a joke. I wanted to challenge him and I wanted him to know that I'm the type of person that will challenge you. And he said, oh, you're so right. You know, 2 female founders dropped out. Whether or not he was telling the truth is another thing. But I think that I can understand why people find it intimidating. You know, it's not comfortable, but I think that having quite a lot of self-assurance helps in these situations to not find them intimidating.
But where does that come from? Is that your upbringing? Is that resilience that has built up over time?
Maybe my upbringing. I've just always been a really confident person. I've always been, you know, the one to want to take charge in a group. You know, the first one to do everything. I love work. It's so weird. You know, I joke that I was doing internships when I was like 12. I just have always wanted to be in the corporate world doing corporate things. Yeah. So I'm a weirdo like that.
But so what advice would you give then to somebody who struggles with confidence and would be intimidated in situations like that?
Yeah, I think it's just know your worth, you know, really understand what your value is that you can bring to the room and go for it. You know, you know that you have value, you know that you have an opinion that's worth hearing, so shout about it. And the worst that something can happen is someone ignores you and then you're in the exact same position than you are now. You know, I've always loved that type of mindset. I remember, you know, it's no different if my friends were going on a date. I'd say, well, go, what's the worst that could happen? You know, you're in the same situation and you don't know them after. And it's the same with being a founder, I think.
It's a good way of looking at it. And so who are the people out there who you really admire and look up to?
Yeah, so it's a weird one because someone asked me this the other day. Someone said to me, where do you get this, you know, entrepreneurial spirit from? And I think that it's my dad. And my dad has by no means a luxurious job. He works in our family business that is in the meat industry and has done since he was 16. But growing up, my dad would go to work at 5 o'clock in the morning and he'd come back at 7, 8 p.m. at night. And I wouldn't see him so much because he was out, but everything that he was doing was always for us. And it was always around, you know, hard work, providing for your family, you know, doing your bit and working with his family as well, which he's always loved. And I think that naturally being exposed to that has made me also want to work hard, you know, not necessarily go up at 5 a.m. and stand in a chicken factory, but the same, you know, value of hard work, definitely from my parents. And then I think I've always had role models. I've always loved being mentored. I have like amazing mentors who are insane women who really push me, which is so important.
Are there any examples you can share? Any people you can mention?
Yeah, so I have a mentor who's actually one of my old clients. She's at Tesco. And I, from the day I met her, I've just admired her leadership strategy, like the way people have so much respect for her. And she can walk into a room and everyone knows that whatever she says is going to be valuable. So post leaving, I said to her, you know, will you be my mentor? And she, you know, we catch up every couple of months. She shares me really, really great advice. But I think that my first mentor, Laura, she actually now has her own business, and it's really weird. We've gone in the same path, and she was the first person that ever told me, oh, go and be a management consultant, you'll love it.
Right.
So I've always had mentors, and I've always, you know, really enjoyed the value that they can bring.
Do you have advice on finding a mentor? Because I've asked people this before, and sometimes the answers are a bit kind of fluffy and not so to the point, but do you have any kind of direct, here's what you need to do to find a mentor who's actually going to care about you and help you with your career growth?
Yeah, so I think find the things that you lack and what that person has. So if you're lacking confidence, find a confident person. If you're lacking, I don't know, drive, find a driven person and just ask them. I think that people underestimate how flattering it is to be asked to be a mentor. You know, I don't know if you have ever been asked, but I was once asked if I would mentor someone. She was at uni, and I was so flattered. And rarely they'll say no unless they're so busy. And if they are, they'll probably guide you to somewhere else. So my advice would just be, just ask.
Yeah, I like that. And I would agree. It's a nice feeling when somebody asks that, because it's like they clearly recognize that you've done the things that they want to do. And also I think that the vast majority of people can be a mentor to somebody. Even if, you know, you've just started university, there are hundreds of thousands of people who want to go to university and are struggling to write their personal statement. So there's always, you know, the ability to look back a year or 2 or 3 years and think, okay, I've been through that. I understand what that feels like, and I can almost coach somebody, or at the very minimum, tell them, you know, I get how you feel. I've been there. It's tough. And even that sometimes can be enough for somebody to kind of give them confidence and let them know that what they're feeling is normal.
Yeah, there's also a difference between coaching and mentoring, which I learned because I had a coach and a mentor at the same time. A mentor will tell you what to do. They'll say, I was in this situation, you should do this. This is my advice. A coach just asks you questions. They really challenge you to think, what is it that you want to do? You know, what are your goals? How are you going to get there? And it's a bit more probing, but I think there's value in having both.
Yeah.